Okay, my friends, we're about to get our session restarted. So I know we still have some people grabbing refreshments. So I'm going to invite everybody to come back in. We want to keep on time as much as we possibly can today. We've so much to get through and we want to respect your time. So I'm going to invite everybody else to come back in and get seated. And then we're going to get started with our next portion of today's forum. So our next portion is the illusion of AI productivity. AI ROI rarely feels because of ambition. It slips away in execution. In this next session, why AI ROI slips away and 4 enterprise stories that solved it, Remy Thellier, Senior Manager for the AI partnerships at Snowflake, will set the stage by unpacking where enterprises most often lose value after investing in AI. Remy is going to be joined by Carlos Aguil, Head of Product at Hex, Vanja Joifovski, Co-founder and CEO of Kumo, Claire Gubian, Global VP of Business Transformation at Dataiku, and Andrew, Chief Marketing Officer at Elementum throughout this session. So please give a warm round of applause and welcome to Remy.
Thank you. Today we're going to talk about return on investment. Can we paste the previous slide also? I just want to make sure. All right. So today we're going to talk about return on investment, and we're going to talk about real use cases. Solidigm, Figma, Novartis, DoorDash, Sanofi, and Snowflake. You're going to hear about real stories where we capture ROI. But to get started, all right, here we go. To get started, we're going to talk about the illusion of productivity. And I want to get started on the fact that there is something that is a boardroom paradox. A study by Atlassian shows that only 4% of executives are saying that is seeing meaningful ROI from AI. 4%. Everyone feels faster, but this does not reflect today in the P&L. There's a gap, and this is what I call the illusion of productivity. Local speed and global stagnation. And you don't get any ROI if all this time that is saved is not reinvested. You get speed, but not value. All those activities, they just don't translate automatically into cost, revenue, or risk. So you get people going faster, you save time, but if the operating model doesn't change, then the economics don't move. So there is a reality check. You won't get any ROI if the workflows remain fragmented, if the business metrics don't move, and if shadow AI is growing outside of your governance workflow. McKinsey says that the workflow redesign is the biggest effect on EBIT impact for GenAI. So let's unpack that. And let's have a look at 3 traps that keeps ROI out of reach. And this is what we see within all our customers. And the ones that are getting results are the ones tackling them. Number 1 is focusing too much on activity. Prompts and users, they're fantastic. But the real return on investment, it relies on spending down, revenue faster, loss being lower, and working capital being optimized. The second trap is attribution issues. We see so many people focusing on easy attributed areas, like the front office, where the back office can pay back a gigantic amount. So look at BPO, agency spend, SaaS, all these kind of things. And the third trap is to treat governance as friction, where it's actually a speed layer. And it allows you to scale and reduce rework and earn trust. So stop asking what AI can do and really start thinking, where does ROI reliably appears? Let's design ROI, not just hope for it. 3 areas where we see reliable ROI today. Revenue, cost, and safety. Right? Cycle time, quote to cash, claims to pay, release to market, anything where days equal money is where you can find a lot of ROI. Cost compression, the cost of outsourcing, the cost of BPO, agencies, contractors, document processing, you know it. All those things are where you can dig and find a lot of return on investment. And lastly, risk reduction, anything related to fraud, leakage, compliance failure, outage, and so on. One thing that I want to highlight also is in the MIT Project Nanda, everybody's been talking about it, it's a huge report. There's one thing that they highlight is that when you work with partners, external expertise, it changes the odds. And it changes big time because it doubles the likelihood of your initiatives to reach deployment. Why? Because when you work with partners, any kind of partners, software providers, data platforms, SIs, any partner, when you work with them, you get repeatable playbooks. You get production-grade architecture. You get they're redesigning your workflows, and you get more discipline in the measurement. So we know a little bit about partners here at Snowflake, right? We're the data platform, AI data cloud, and we have a very strong partner ecosystem, very tightly working with us and with all our customers in order to bring the most value and bring the most return of investment. And you can see, you're going to hear now today, stories from 4 of them. Real stories. And so I'm going to have 4 leaders from Dataiku, Kumo, Hex, and Elementum join me on stage in order to go through real customer stories where they can show how they are bringing a lot of value to our customers. All right? I'm going to start with Carlos.
So, hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm Carlos Aguilar. I am the head of product at Hex, and excited to share with you how the Hex agent really accelerated product insights platform at Figma. I guess before I jump into it, are folks broadly familiar with Hex? Like, can I get a little hand raise if you've heard of Hex? We are a leading, so saw a bunch of hands go up, but we are a leading analytics platform, really the front end for over 1,900 customers like Figma, Reddit, HubSpot, StubHub, and Ramp. And we'll also just call out, we just released a, sorry, let me, these slides aren't quite synced. There we go. There we go. And just going to call out that we just released a case study with Mercer, really talking about this acceleration, this time to value. They called out a $100 million increase in revenue from accelerating the time of product delivery. But I'm going to jump over and talk about one of my favorite case studies, one of my favorite customers, really, which is Figma. For those that aren't familiar, Figma is a publicly traded product design platform. So they are the leading product design platform. They have 500,000 customers, millions of customers logging in every day using the platform. And they have a mountain of data that they're collecting about these customers. So they have a whole research team, a very large research team, whose entire job is to figure out how the product is being used, measuring that engagement with the product, measuring the success of the product. And so their top line KPI here is NPS. They're collecting over 2 million signals. They're also doing very targeted product release oriented survey engagement. So figuring out feedback on specific products and on specific releases. They also have ad hoc programs that they run from a leadership perspective. They might be curious about some specific initiative and measuring ROI in that initiative. And so the goal here is turning these millions of data points into actionable insights, right? And especially in this age of AI, product roadmaps are being sort of thrown in the air and people are trying to be more iterative, trying to be faster in how they're delivering value. And the research team, their mandate is really getting the information just in time so folks can deliver products faster. So very quickly on the data stack, and I'll go into the implementation a little bit. Sprig is Figma's survey platform for collecting feedback within the product. They're using Snowflake, dbt, Hex as their analytics platform across the entire organization. And Hex is also managing deliveries to email and Slack and other endpoints. And just want to quickly highlight the research team. So the research team at Figma looks like a lot of teams at a lot of companies, where there's a couple people who are data curious. You know, Ree is maybe kind of SQL savvy, but not an expert. Molly hates SQL, doesn't know SQL, hates building charts, hates Tableau. Dragging and dropping is way beyond anything that she ever wants to do. So typically a person who's going to have to rely on somebody else to do analysis. And this is just a small part, but these are like maybe some data-hungry folks embedded within that organization, not on a data team or anything. And in terms of the surfaces that they're going to be engaging with inside of Hex, so Hex, the core of Hex is a polyglot data notebook. So you can write SQL, you can write Python, you can string that together with a chart. You have a really elegant chart builder. And one thing that's amazing about AI agents is they're incredibly good at interacting with and driving code-based workflows. So this is a data analyst and data engineer's notebook, but it has an AI agent, which has really very, very widespread adoption. Over 50% of folks that use this notebook are now actively using that AI agent to help them accelerate how they're using that AI agent. And what's interesting is, if we look at that previous slide with Ree and Molly, a lot of what they're doing is they're in that notebook. And in the previous generation of tools, a technical tool like a notebook might be something that was very, very inaccessible for that sort of audience. But we're trying to up-level everybody with agents, and we think that's very, very possible today. So this is more on the technical end of the spectrum. Once you have a great analysis, a great set of charts, you can arrange those into a dashboard and publish that. And so now everybody can get insights from that deep technical notebook that you were developing. And of course, you can chat with that published dashboard. And if you don't know what dashboard to go to, or you just want to ask a question, of course, table stakes now that you can just ask a question with NLP with a product called Threads. But really, I think the magic of Hex is being able to capture these deep analytical workflows and let the entire organization really benefit from that deep technical work. So let's go through the implementation a little bit. So starting off, it used to be that Figma would just download spreadsheets from Sprig and start running a bunch of pivot tables. That obviously was not very sustainable. And so a key part of this value story was first getting all of the data into Snowflake, into a common platform. And this was actually the data engineering team. Yeah, it wasn't non-technical people who were doing that, but so it started with the data engineering team. But from there, once it's in Snowflake, it's in that common platform, you can just join all that data in Hex. So now that the survey data is in Hex, you can just join it with your customer table very easily in the notebook. You don't even need to know how to code. You can use an AI assistant to help you with that analysis. And Ree can join it and figure out and ask questions about customer segmentation, even though that isn't in the survey platform, and link it with common data points. What I think is even more interesting is because we have this notebook agent, Ree can actually do a lot of enrichment and more advanced analysis. So Ree can derive a new data point around churn propensity, right? That wasn't modeled by the data engineering team. Ree came up with that by herself and was able to enrich this data even more. So doing some pretty sophisticated work without putting the data team sort of in that critical path. And finally, obviously, once all this data is organized, you can analyze the data right in Hex. And all of this is happening in Hex and in collaboration with this notebook agent. And video. Let's see if it actually, there we go. It worked, amazing. Okay, so you can see we've got this notebook here. We've got charts and SQL. And this is actually a use case where this analysis was passed off. So maybe Ree gave this to Molly, and Molly can now start jumping into this analysis, can ask for a summary, can ask what should I be looking at here, or follow-up questions. And The notebook agent is agentic, so it's sort of running a recursive loop here. There's a bunch of deep tools, so you can click on each of these tools and jump into exactly what's going on. This is an incredibly engaging sort of interface for folks to get deep into the data. Of course, there's less technical versions of this. If you look at the very top, there's something called the app builder. So that's like a published dashboard where you don't actually have to look at the code. So for less technical folks, they might not want to be chatting with the code. But honestly, increasingly, folks do want to chat with the code. And I think empowering that is going to be part of this next evolution of AI tools. So just hitting on a few of the use cases here. I think there's some typical BI use cases, right? Leadership reviews, being able to get answers to leadership more quickly, to make those decisions more quickly, to accelerate that time to product delivery. Product builders are obviously using this to drive their decision making. Product builders are investigating when signals, when survey sentiment is going down, they are able to sort of look at that in real time and use AI to really accelerate how they're making decisions. But I think, honestly, the thing that I'm most excited for is this last use case on the bottom right, which is when you get a new set of data, it used to be that it goes to the data team, they're sort of thinking about it for a while, and then it sort of like flows through the organization. But with the power of agents, what you can do, the folks on the front line are really empowered to dig into that data, start coming to conclusions themselves, and really get to the decisions that they need as product builders. So yeah, that's all I had today. Thanks so much for listening. And there's hundreds of people at Figma using the AI agent, and excited to chat with you. If you have any questions, we'll be out on the conference floor.
Good morning, everybody. So we're going to shift gears a little bit and oh, this is Figma. That's okay, so I can see there. And talk about predictions. First, I'll make a prediction myself. Everybody talks about data and about AI these days. So how it's going to look like in the future? So I predict that first, AI is going to be natural language. It's like everybody's used to, on the consumer side, ChatGPT, you want to talk to it, and it's going to talk back to you, okay? The next generation of leaders will definitely don't want to type SQL queries or things like that. On the consumer side and on the enterprise side. On the enterprise side, there is one more feature that's going to be there, that AI is going to be predictive. You're going to ask less questions about the past. You're going to ask questions about the future. You're going to automate decision making. And these decisions, they're best made with data. I mean, the whole reason you all here collect data is because you needed to make decisions about the future. Analytics is just a tool. You feed it into a human brain, and then comes a decision, okay? So what I'm going to show you today is how Kumo and Snowflake are making this vision true, okay? And so predictions, why even worry about predictions? Well, a small improvement in predictions like recommendation, personalization, fraud, healthcare operation can always bring an outsized impact on the business. And so the problem with prediction is they are based on your enterprise data. And this data is not a text, is not an image, it's relational data you have in the data warehouse. And so you may be asking why we're even talking about it. Is ChatGPT not going to solve it? It's actually not very good at dealing with tabular textual data. I mean, one intuition I have is that large language models, they're good at what humans are good. And they can make this type of work. Humans are not very good dealing with a lot, numbers, dates, and all kinds of other stuff. And people have fed this into large language models. So this image here is actually somebody trying to stringify a whole data warehouse and feed it in a prompt. And work horribly. So to make predictions today, your organizations are still stuck with machine learning pipelines. So you join the data, you have scientists do features and all of that. We've been doing this the same way for the last 15, 20 years, and it's still done like this. So here's how we're going to change this with Kumo and Snowflake. We're going to bring the best of AI, and that's transformer network architectures, foundation models, to your data warehouse. And so this is what we've done at Kumo. We've built this platform that can train graph transformers at huge scale, like tens of billions of nodes. And why is this important? Where do the graph comes? Well, your data warehouse is a graph. Just imagine every row is a node, every foreign primary key connection is a link, and now at once you can view your data warehouse as a graph, humongous graph. This is not an entity graph, as was discussed previously. This is like raw events graph, like every transaction, every click is a node. So these are huge graphs. And we've brought transformers, which is the best network architecture out there, to your data warehouse. And then on top of that, we've built 3 types of models. We assembled a lot of public data and then did even more synthetic data, and we pre-trained a single foundation model, but this is not a large language model, it's a relational foundation model. And so you can prompt this model with simple SQL-like query, but predictive query about the future, and it will answer to you instantaneously in a few hundred milliseconds. No more needing to, anticipate what you want to predict. No more needing to build machine learning models. So the same benefit that ChatGPT brought to the text world, now you have in your data warehouse. Okay? Now you can do better if you fine-tune this model for your particular organization, and then if you have critical tasks, then you can fine-tune the model for a specific task. And this fine-tuning does not have the same economics as large language models. It's a lot cheaper. So this is all possible. But today, you can build an agent that in natural language, you can ask questions to your Snowflake data warehouse, and you get back predictions in instant. So a little bit more about the product. We will take the schema from Snowflake. We have that prompting language that's very similar to SQL. You just say predict instead of select. We don't have to go into details. On the top of that, we have built a natural language interface that translates those queries into the natural queries into this type of queries, and you can execute on this. But you get the ability to basically talk to your data warehouse and say, hey, which customer will churn, or who's going to close this quarter, without having to look in the past and then trying to interpolate. And it will be done based on the entirety of your data in the data warehouse. So we have made predictive so easy that why look in the past? And just ask the question about the future, because with so much data that you capture, it's likely that it's going to be better prediction than if human does it. And so our product is going in 2 parts. First, it will substitute machine learning models that you have now in production. And now you'll be able to do this all the way inside your Snowflake instance. You get predictions that are superhuman level. And I'll give you some examples where we have done well. And you can also build agents where you can talk to it with a natural language and you'll get the predictions. So here is an example of DoorDash, which is a customer of Snowflake and Kumo. So this is a very sophisticated organization, as you can imagine. So they had a restaurant recommendation model that was tuned for maybe almost a decade. When those models in production and sophisticated, data science can add a few percentages up, 1 or 2% a year. We gave them about 30% improvement in engagement. So if you're getting DoorDash restaurant recommendations and they're not good for you, that's probably us, so let us know. But this is about 8 to 10 years of data science in 1 year. And why is this? Well, because neural networks are better at finding features in models than humans. And this transition happened in computer vision 15 years ago. And we used to find edges in images and do image classification based on that. Now it's all raw pixels to predictions. We brought the same thing to data warehousing. This is deployed in production today. The assessed impact is in hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's real. It works. Snowflake is our partner. It's also our customer. So Snowflake uses us on the sales side to do account prioritization. And so their sales team deployed Kumo, and now they're getting 45% better conversion. That's a very significant impact as well. And so story after story like this where you can use your data to the full extent. And now you don't have to dump it outside of Snowflake. You can just do all of this inside Snowflake with ease, either with natural language query or with a simple SQL-like query. You can get models that will be better than, usually what your data scientists do in a day or two. You issue a query, there's a little hyperparameter tuning maybe, and that's it. So, going back to the future, let me see if this is going to play. I want to show you something that we've built together with Snowflake for their sales team. This is an agent which you can ask predictive questions. So you say, for the current quarter, which deals are committed, what is their probability of closing, rank them from highest to lowest risk. And this is all natural language. So what's happening underneath, first the agent divides the SQL part and issues some SQL queries, figures out what the word committed means, finds all the accounts, executes the queries, finds the accounts that are committed. It takes a couple of trials. So this is similar agentic flow. It tries a couple things and figures out a set of accounts that are committed. And then for each of them, on the fly, issues a PQL, a query to Kumo that will get the probabilities and then finds explainability why this happens, because in Kumo we can run the predictions back and figure out which raw data elements actually cause the prediction, and then nicely formats it out for the user to be able to action upon that. So in short, the future is natural language and it's predictive. People will ask more and more questions about the future. Imagine you can query the future as it's already happened. And this is what we're bringing together with Snowflake. Thank you very much.
Okay, hi, I'm Claire. I lead the business transformation team at Dataiku, the universal AI platform. And one of the most exciting things I do as part of my job is to measure ROI of AI every single day with our 800 customers in banking, pharmaceuticals, etc. And so we're pretty busy, which is good news, right? So what is the Dataiku Universal AI Platform? We help you build any AI project that you might have to drive revenue, decrease costs, mitigate risk, you name it, but we help you do it in a cost-efficient and time-efficient way. And how do we do that? Our platform helps you bridge the silos between your different teams, whatever their data saving-ness. We help you access your data very seamlessly, especially if it sits in Snowflake. And we help you bridge the gaps between your technology, bringing all your systems together, all of this in a fully governed and scalable way. All right, so for today, I picked two stories. The first one is Solidigm. Solidigm is the leading a flash memory solutions provider, and they were struggling with their IT ticketing system, a pretty consistent topic, right? So what was happening? Their IT system was overwhelmed with receiving more than 2,000 tickets every month by thousands of users. And what they noticed is each ticket required multiple back and forths, multiple interactions, and that was not very cost effective. It created very bad customer experience for their users. They tried to solve this in multiple ways, but couldn't really, given the amount of data and given all where the data was sitting. And this was until they thought about leveraging LLMs to do this, but leveraging them in an orchestrated way, thanks to Dataiku and Snowflake. And so there's a lot to say about this and how they've really improved the experience, but there's 3 points I would like to highlight. First of all, their biggest problem was data quality, meaning the tickets they were receiving from their users was poorly written, right? And so it was really difficult to understand what was the issue. They used LLM as a judge to basically review the quality of these tickets and then rewrite them. But then what was mostly important was also to connect it back to the system. In this case, ServiceNow, the agent being able to open, modify, and close a ticket. The second piece that they solved with this was the routing issue. So routing, meaning you get the ticket, but then where do you send it for the best resolution path, right? Initially, they thought they would use ML to do this. They would build a model, understanding from historical data what was the best resolution path for a given topic. But they noticed that their historical data was not good enough and their ML was basically not working well. So they pivoted then to LLM again, using refined prompt engineering to basically define which was the right path for a given situation. Last but not least, when you're thinking about ROI, it's great to get ROI within the first year, but what you really want is sustained ROI. And Solidigm, when they built this agent, they were thinking future-proof, right? Future-proof in a world where everything changes every day is really hard. This is where the LLM mesh functionalities of Dataiku really helped. Why? Because if there's a new model out there, you can leverage it without having to rebuild your solution. And then you can use the monitoring and constant feedback loop in order to maintain your data quality. The second example I wanted to share is Novartis. One of our leading verticals at Dataiku is pharmaceuticals, and one of our biggest joint customer, Snowflake and Dataiku, is Novartis. Novartis uses us for a broad range of use cases. We have thousands of users on Novartis. And the one I want to highlight is how they've been using us to improve their marketing and sales function. And notably by creating a hyper-personalization engine that enables to send the right message to the right doctor at a given time. Thanks to this, they've been able to improve their click-through rate by 50%. We're talking about multi-million dollars of marketing budget. This is huge in terms of ROI impact. They also use this for other areas in their business, and I'd like to showcase how notably our solution has been used to improve clinical trials, and notably one really important part of clinical trials, which is how you recruit patients. So if we can play the video, that would be great.
This is Dataiku, the platform for AI success. Let's meet Sarah. Sarah is a clinical data analyst at Trivera Therapeutics. She knows clinical trials, the data, the regulations, what makes a patient likely to enroll and complete a study. It's an important topic because patient recruitment is the biggest bottleneck in clinical trials. Delays cost pharmaceutical companies millions per day, and the wrong patients mean failed studies and wasted years of research. Sarah's job is to find the right patients fast. She's working in Dataiku to help trial coordinators find and recruit eligible patients. First, she needs to build the dataset and then make it available to her colleagues. She's able to do all of that in Dataiku, assisted by agents, some built into the platform, others customized to how Trivera works, all within a single environment. She starts by simply telling Dataiku what she's looking to accomplish. Dataiku helps her locate a starting point, a patient demographics dataset already in the system. Without Dataiku, finding the right data would mean navigating catalogs, filing requests with IT, and waiting. Here, she just describes what she needs, making her both faster and more independent. She asks Dataiku to run some quick analysis right in the chat. She also inspects the data manually, using her years of expertise to guide what she looks for. Now she needs to bring in additional data. Dataiku proposes a few options. She selects the one she needs. You'll notice that the data stays in Snowflake, Trivera's enterprise data platform. Dataiku works directly on top of it. No data copying, no shadow systems. Since Dataiku understands the goal of the project she's working on, it suggests that she join the datasets. Sarah agrees. The agent takes care of some initial pre-processing and completes the join. This kind of data wrangling would normally require SQL or Python. Sarah doesn't need to write a line of code, but the pipeline Dataiku builds is just as rigorous as if she had. Sarah tells Dataiku to review data quality before moving on. She spots a few issues. Some lab values look like entry errors, and Dataiku helps her fix them. She identifies what's wrong, and Dataiku makes the fix immediately. Sarah asks Dataiku to add a step that uses an LLM to extract valuable information from the unstructured clinical notes. Running an LLM across thousands of records in a way that is both governed and reproducible would typically require a dedicated data and AI engineering effort. In Dataiku, it's just another step in the pipeline. Now she wants to add a prediction. Which patients are most likely to enroll and complete the trial? She asks Dataiku to do this. Training and tuning a machine learning model normally takes a data science team weeks. Dataiku does it in moments. It turns out that a random forest model is best. It even shows her which variables are the strongest predictors of trial enrollment, confirming what Sarah suspected from experience. Dataiku deploys the model into the pipeline. Deployment, getting a model from a notebook into production, is where most AI projects stall. Here, it's one step. Now every patient record includes an enrollment likelihood score. Sarah takes a moment to have Dataiku document the project, ensuring that her colleagues and their agents understand what she's done and why. Here's what she's built: a complete, auditable pipeline. Every transformation is visible. Every step can be inspected. It runs predictably and reliably. There are no black boxes. Finally, Sarah has Dataiku build the application for the trial coordinators. Building an internal tool like this would normally mean a separate project, a development team, and weeks of work. Sarah does it herself, in minutes, all in a unified, secure environment. In just a few minutes, Sarah went from scattered data to a governed ML and AI-enhanced dataset behind a simple application, ready to help her team enroll patients faster. Her expertise amplified. People, orchestration, governance. That's Dataiku.
Okay, hopefully this demo gave you a good insight on how we've been able to help pharmaceutical companies go faster and better. And we're here to discuss more at our roundtable at 12:30. Thank you.
I am going to tell you a little bit about how Sanofi, one of our customers, made a six-figure investment in Elementum and generated 18 million in cost savings in their first year. We'll give you a tiny bit of background on Elementum, who we are and what we do. We are a workflow-driven AI platform. So we combine a deterministic workflow engine with agentic AI and human control where necessary to deliver workloads at scale. There are a few things that are really important pillars around Elementum's uniqueness. The first is we were built natively inside Snowflake. Okay, so when we execute our workflows against your data, the workflows execute natively on the data inside Snowflake. We have a patent that allows us to run workflows in this way. This has a huge number of benefits, one of which is there's literally no integration work to be done to get workflows executed. The second big pillar of our value comes from the fact that you can get up and running really, really quickly. One of the reasons that you can get up and running quickly is because data already exists in Snowflake. The other is that we provide tools that can allow you to build apps in our system very quickly. So we have an agentic interface for building apps. We have a GUI for building drag and drop workflows. We get enterprise grade workflows up and running in 30 to 60 days typically, where at this scale, workflows would take many, many months or more. Third pillar of our value comes from how we combine deterministic workflows with agentic AI. So we have an actual deterministic workflow engine, think ServiceNow or Pega, and we give you the ability to engage AI agents of any kind. So you can build agents natively in our platform. You can invoke agents using any LLM. You can invoke Snowflake agents. You can invoke agents from anywhere in your AI data stack, and you can combine human control where necessary. We've been around for about 4 years. We have a super strong relationship with Snowflake. Snowflake made an investment in Elementum last year. The chairman of our board is one Frank Slootman, who's also the former CEO and chair of Snowflake. So we really, really value our partnership, and I won't read you these numbers, but we've delivered a lot of work at scale. Sanofi is a very large French pharmaceutical company. They've got almost 100,000 employees, really broad footprint across pharma, specialty care, vaccines, general medicines. And because of the scale at which Sanofi operates, data is really, really, really important to them. They've got a huge R&D footprint. They've got a big clinical footprint. They've got manufacturing, and they have a top-down mandate to operationalize AI safely at scale. The first problem that we solved at Sanofi, which led to a lot of other use at Sanofi, but the first problem that we solved was a pretty straightforward one that a lot of companies struggle with, and that's managing software licenses. So the process that was in place at Sanofi prior to Elementum for approving or denying software requests was pretty manual, was pretty ill-defined. And one of the outcomes was that for an approver, it was a lot faster and easier to just say yes to a license than to actually ask the questions around whether the license was required. And it turns out that that state was costing them a boatload of money that they didn't need to be spending. They rolled out a fully automated system in Elementum that included some human checkdowns and got huge cost savings. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. But I wanted to just pull back a little bit and say that this software license management use is one of kind of a pattern that we see. Companies use Elementum in a lot of different ways, but one category we like to call document intelligence. And the attributes of document intelligence basically include human intake. So a person submits a request through a corporate front door, Teams, Slack, a form, an email, and then we move into a workflow that kicks off AI agents. We do some classification of the problem. We extract data from documents. Very importantly, agents generate a confidence score. And the confidence score is basically making the determination as to whether a human needs to be involved in a decision. If we have a high confidence score, we move on to more deterministic workflows that actually execute on the request, grant the license, deny the license, reallocate a license. If confidence isn't high enough, we kick back to a human to make the final decision. So yeah, in the first year, Sanofi looked at over $400 million in spend with this process, 2,200 requests, and directly measured takeout of 18 million in costs that turned out to be completely unnecessary. There's a lot of document intelligent uses across our customer base, not just in software license management. There's a lot in procurement, vendor contracts, customer contracts, invoice processing, tariff compliance, and this software license management use case was just a starting point at Sanofi, and we've grown tremendously with them since then. So that is the story of Elementum and Sanofi. Appreciate the time.